Oh, yeah, tuna.
And after a couple of weeks, she did.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa Will Rogers Tuesday noon meeting. That's the Tulsa Will Rogers Rotary Club, the friendliest club in District 6110.
That's right.
Would everyone please stand as you're able for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, wonderful. Everybody, thanks for coming out on such a kind of a nasty day. It looks like the sun's starting to shine a little bit. We don't have any guests today or any visiting Rotarians. Yesterday was Tom Upshaw's birthday. He's stuck at home right now with a dead battery. Let's see, Pat messaged she's feeling under the weather. She won't be in. She said that Larry Harrell is home.
He's doing very well, by the way.
Outstanding, and just we're going to send the card off to him here, and let's see. We have any other brags or any? Did I miss anybody else's birthday this month? I think that's all we have for October. Yeah, we had Larry. We had an excellent. We had a wonderful Saturday at MSNI. We packed some 23 boxes and loaded a full pallet, and so did that all within the allotted time. Much is going on out there, and they're talking about sending things other places now. Let's see what else. Okay, right now we're working on nailing down a date for our next board meeting, and we have been discussing Sunday, Sunday afternoon. Where did you say at in Utica Square?
Starbucks at Utica Square.
We could do that.
Just a suggestion.
It's a matter of 2 o'clock, and it's going to last about an hour-ish, an hour and a half possibly.
No more than an hour.
We can do that. It's this Sunday. This Sunday.
We need to see.
And why are we doing it this Sunday, Stan?
Because we need to get our grant, for the bylaws.
For you.
For me. Oh, yes. Oh, I forgot to tell everybody, in case you had, those who do not know, I received a summons to serve as a district court juror for the United States District Court, Northern Oklahoma District, from the 7th, in on-call status from the 7th of November through the 30th of December. Now, I did pull up the docket, and it looked to me pretty intimidating, and I guess I'm guessing a lot of this is due to McGirt. There's other things happening too. I'm acutely aware of, but yes, as if my leadership here the difficulty level wasn't high enough post-pandemic, they're going to make me jump through a few more hoops here. But yes, Saturday was one reason. Also, we need to get our grant recipients or requests prepared, and of course we're having our social on November 29th. Fundraiser slant social, and we're going to be electing our officers at the same time at that meeting, correct?
Maybe. We'll decide at the board meeting.
Okay. And don't forget our district governors meeting, the 13th of December will be our district governors meeting. And I had high hopes given the talk I'm giving today on that particular day, but but due to her needing to be here, we made a shift in the speaker lineup. Let's see here. Am I missing anything? Anything else I need to? We're having the meeting next week at school, and don't worry this time, Debbie. I've got all of the gift cards purchased and ready, and I should be able to do everything at that one. And you know, the way that the jury pool works for this federal court is you have to call or sign online every Friday at close of business after 5 p.m. and they'll have if we need to come in or not the following Monday.
Yeah.
And if they need something right away, they will, of course, I'm at their beck and call. So, you know, traveling outside the area probably is kind of like a no-go at this point. Anyway, anything else in terms of club business that we, yes?
We
go.
still need some donations of $20, at least $20 bottles of wine.
You got
the
it.
Auction.
All right. What's our deadline for the wine?
November 28th.
That shouldn't be a problem. We will have it ready. Okay.
Let's say the 22nd, just to be safe. Oh, that's.
Well, I've got any one of the numbered you can have in my wine rack. So they're good. It's good wine too. It's all right. Anyway, today's presentation, we initially had scheduled Michael Trainer, the optician who does the eyeglass recycling program out at the Eye Institute Optical Shop at 71st and Yale. He is too busy to get away to come all the way downtown, so I decided to step up and give my presentation today. That I had, like I say, I wish I could have done this given this on the 13th of December, since the anniversary date for the actual event is the 12th. You know, kind of like we did in the Navy when something like this was to happen, we had to improvise, which I got somewhat, never really mastered, but I got an improved level before I left service. Anyway, today, given that our speaker on the 20th of December is going to be the person who's the point of contact for refugee resettlement in Tulsa, with a person from Catholic Charities that is working with much of that. I was hoping to do this as kind of like an introduction to refugees and to my personal experience in dealing with refugees, and what constitutes a refugee, somebody fleeing personal harm from a situation or a government that is where they would, if they were to stay under their conditions where they were located, they would be in severe threat of life and limb. And many of these people have left horrendous conditions. They have suffered a lot of abuse at the hands of people who can abuse them at will. This is what's going to kind of pan out in this initial part of my story. And this started when I was a 21-year-old sailor. You know, it's true what they say. If you think you're having a bad day, I will categorically assure you somebody else is having a worse day. And toward the end of the third year of my first enlistment in the Navy, I still wasn't sure if I was going to make it a career or not yet, but I was assigned to a guided missile destroyer, and we were on a deployment. And I had joined the crew of that ship the previous year on the previous cruise, and it became kind of a theme with me, like I was always having to step up to do bigger things than I was really ready to do at the time. That first cruise, I spent a whopping 3 weeks on that ship, and then when we pulled into a port in Japan, we pulled in with a frigate, and the chief hospital corpsman on the frigate had to go on emergency leave, so I was sent over there to take his place as a junior third class. Which was a billet that, I was too green to know that that probably should not have been done, as this other thing the following year probably should not have been done. But not knowing any better, I just put up with it and got through it. But I found myself in a situation on that cruise where my shop supervisor, who was a first class independent duty corpsman, had to go on emergency leave because his wife was critically ill in the ICU in San Diego at the Naval Hospital. And they said, oh, relax, his relief will be here before we leave for Thailand, because we were in the Philippines and we were scheduled to leave for Thailand in 2 weeks. So I just toughed it out, and on the morning that we were leaving for Thailand, they pulled up the brow, and we got underway at 7:30 in the a.m., and my first class's release plane landed in Manila at 8. So I was pretty much stuck at what became a total of a 33-day run as as a lone solo member of the ship's medical department. I was a hospital corpsman, like I say. That's how I got my start in healthcare in 1978. This was 1980, and I'd been in the fleet a little over a year, and people had managed to gain the trust of the crew, and that was enough for most of them. Now, of course, out of 300 odd wild guys, it's kind of hard to win over everybody. But anyway, we had the brief that we may encounter boat people, and what are we going to do when, if we do? I had no idea really. Anyway, let me turn on the PowerPoint. Oh goodness. Here we go. Okay. So, this is my personal experience with refugees. And pardon my shabby PowerPoint skill, I worked on this last night. First off, before we get into this, I want to segue into this by saying that there is an authentic Will Rogers connection to this. Where we meet at school in room 207, right outside, is the school's Hall of Fame. And if you'll look, there's this book, 3 Lives of a Warrior, and it was written by Dr. Philip Butler, Will Rogers class of 1956. On page 48 of this book, he talks about, here's the thing, he gained notoriety in the run-up to the 2008 election, having been a prisoner of war with John McCain, even though they only saw each other in Wallow prison once, and the whole time McCain was there. His experience with McCain came from living across the hall from him at the Naval Academy, and he talks about the guys that were living in the same room, in that room across from McCain, and one of them was a fellow by the name of Dana French. Okay, we're going to talk about him in this presentation. Dana French is my former commanding officer. He was commanding officer of USS Robinson, the ship that we're going to talk about. DDG-12, very distinctive cover that we had. My rating, that's my, at the time, the week before this incident happened, I was promoted to hospital corpsman second class, which the eagle and the 2 chevrons indicate. And I have my caduceus on there. That was my utility cap that I wore on the ship.
What's DDG stand for?
It's the letter designation for guided missile destroyer. Anything with a G in that letter designation indicates it's armed with guided missiles. Okay, DD not so much, even though they had a class of, like the Spruance class did have harpoon missiles, but that came later. But anyway, this is an Adams class guided missile destroyer, and it was like toward the second decade of its service, and it was in service for 30 years. Okay, there you go. There's the ship. And this is our Western Pacific deployment, and the places we left in August the 19th and came back January 30th of 1980, 81, excuse me. We visited Pearl Harbor, of course, where we stayed for about 2 months because the engineering plant was in such disrepair. Then we got on to Subic Bay, Philippines. It's where I took over kind of the reins and did a 33-day solo run as junior MDR. And then we made a port visit to Pattaya Beach, Thailand. And that's where I was actually when I learned of John Lennon's murder. I was found this open air bar with these Australian Air Force guys in it, and somebody made a comment about John Lennon, and I retorted with something, yeah, he's really reeling off the hits these days, and the guy said, not anymore, he's been shot by some deranged person, showed me an English language Bangkok newspaper with that headline. Then after this ordeal, we went back to the Philippines and then went to Hong Kong, and then on our way back, we did a little brief port visit, refueling visit to Guam, and then one to Kwajalein Atoll and back to Hawaii, then back to San Diego. It was a very, very relatively short cruise. But anyway, what can we do in a relatively short cruise, and what can happen? As you can see, this is Bangkok, of course, and Pattaya Beach is right south of there. And that's where we dropped the anchor, and we were there with a couple of other ships. They were amphibious ships, and they were on their way to Singapore, and a repair ship that was on its way to USS Beaufort, on its way to Singapore. Anyway, after we made our little port visit, we were going to do this little exercise with 3 ships from the Royal Thai Navy. And it was an anti-submarine warfare exercise. We're also operating with a submarine, the USS Grayback, that was very nearby. And we were, on this Friday of that week, we were out underway with these 3, they were old Fletcher-class destroyers from World War II that the United States sold to Thailand. And on the way to this rendezvous point for this exercise, our lookout spotted this boat over on the other side of the formation from where our boat was, our ship was in place, and it was full of people, and they were waving SOS and semaphore. And our captain, who was junior to the Thai Commodore, who was in command, said, yeah, he asked about this boat, and of the Thai Commodore, who said, oh, those are Vietnamese, just ignore them. Like the guy would rather crank a gun around and blow them out of the water. I found out that in Southeast Asia at that time, the Vietnamese had a very bad reputation. But anyway, and this boat, I don't know if you read that Facebook page link I posted on the email, but they started off on the 10th of December with over 300 people. And it turns out that we find out later after embarking these people that when they saw us passing by at lunchtime, this was around lunchtime when we first saw them, and we were going to this place a few miles off, that we had to be there until around 3:30. But when they saw us passing by the first time, a lot of people, about 15 people, just couldn't take it anymore and jumped in the water and drowned. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that these people had to deal with. So what happened was once we got cleared, our Captain French wanted to go investigate right away, and the Thai Commodore said, you will keep this commitment to do this because we've been waiting for you to do it. And so we did. So once we got clear of the exercise, we came about and went full speed back to the position of this boat. And it was about 6 p.m. that night local time, and the sun was setting. It was December, and the sun was setting, and we came upon that boat 262, and they had a Thai fishing boat alongside. And it looked the initial appearance to us on the ship was these Thai fishermen were helping these people. I was sent by Captain French in the motor whaleboat with the other guys, about 9 people in the motor whaleboat, engineer, radio operator, a couple of boatswain mates with 2 M14s locked and loaded, with 30 M14 rounds, and our safety officer, and he assessed the condition of the boat. Our safety officer did, said it was definitely not seaworthy, and get that many people with no sanitation for 3 days time, and you can just, or 2 days time, and you can just imagine what the aromatic aroma was like. But anyway, we also had the Thai Navy exchange officer in the boat, and he had a bullhorn, and he wanted to talk to the Thai in charge. And they were talking in Thai, and then he turns around to our safety officer and says, he wants to get underway in 1 hour. And basically he said, okay, have him help us get these people on the ship, and they can go. And at the time, because of the language barrier, we couldn't figure out why certain things were. And some of the younger girls and some of the teenage girls and stuff had excrement smeared all over them, and we couldn't figure out why till the years later. Anyway, so we embarked these people, and as you can see, it was kind of an evolution. It was dark by the time we were getting them on board. We had the bosun made the deck people rig some lights on the aft of the ship, on the fantail of the ship, and we were set up makeshift showers and got everybody washed off, and then we sent them up one level to where the I don't know if you can see back aft where we had the missile launcher and the aft gun, and kind of made a little space for them up there. If you'll notice in my journal excerpt, I noticed that probably the best use of a naval gun I ever saw, the guys threw a tarp over it and got some of these people out of the elements. So, anyway, we get all these people up there, and where it really came home for me was, there were a couple of dead kids on the bottom of the boat, and actually there were 4 dead kids at the bottom of the boat, and then, I take that back, 4 dead kids. There was 2 in the bottom of the boat, and of their boat, and they brought some, it looked like about a 5-year-old girl on board to our aid station on the fantail, and she was kind of like DOA, and then we lost a small, it looked like about a 2.5-year-old later that evening. She was too far gone, too dehydrated, and just couldn't take the insult. Before all this, fortunately, before we left Pattaya, the medical officer from that submarine, Captain Pryor, was on his way home on emergency leave, as his dad was critically ill in Philadelphia, and we were an interim stop. And fortunately, somebody was looking out for me, because I probably would have lost it if it hadn't been for him. He kind of kept me from losing it. Like when they brought that girl on board, he kind of ran the code while I got the drug box, and stuff. But she was gone. Anyway, we got clear of a lot of that, and one of the first people I met when they came on was. I was up checking. They had me and Captain Pryor up on the fantail that were checking. Once people got washed off, make sure that nobody's got any oozing sores or anything that could possibly be communicable. And we sent them up to the 01 level, and this person.
Not a table talk, Stan. Not a table talk.
Okay, well, this person here, listen. This person that comes up and comes over to us and sees what we're doing. Says, medical check. I said yes, and we sent him on. Hey, that dude speaks English. Get him back here. We're coming back to him. Anyway, we get everybody settled down for the evening, and was it ever an evening? And that was on. I think everybody saw the video that I sent with the email about the one that was taken 2 days later on Sunday. This was a Friday night, and on Sunday, my division LPO guy named Rick Calcagney sat for that video and told about how these people were the conditions they were living under back in Vietnam. They took their chances of being a little bit free rather than stay in Vietnam. So, and anyway, but so we Sunday evening we get a doctor and 3 nurses from the International Rescue Committee on board, and I don't have any pictures of them. I do, but they helped out quite a bit. And by that time, as soon as we got some food in most of these people and some water and got them fluid resuscitated, most of them did well. I mean, we had one woman that had kidney failure, and we had a couple other people that had some issues. But most of them out of 260 odd did well, but 262 survived, hence the name Boat 262. And they started with over 300. So this is the picture I took. This is out of my personal archives. Okay, the guy that spoke English is this guy right here. His name is Bing No. We're coming back to him because he's part of the story now. Okay, this is Captain Pryor, and he left the day after this picture was taken on his way up to caught a plane out of Bangkok and went back to Philadelphia. I never heard from him again either. I never knew this guy's last name. It's Dr. Steve. He's with the International Rescue Committee, and these people this is what they do. And this is a nurse named Virginia. There are 2 other nurses, a lady back here, Carrie, and then let's see. But this is our fantail aid station, and we're passing out a lot of electrolyte solution and stuff like that, basic medications and stuff, but anyway, we get these people all, let's see here. We had a little birthday party for one girl, and we're going to come back to that one. Let's see here. We have, this is Captain French here, right there. And I don't know this gentleman's name, but he's making a statement about why he did what he did. But that's our skipper back when he was the skipper. And I don't know what happened to all my text I had on here, but we'll see here. Let's see. We finally offloaded these people. We had taken on a bunch of admin people we anchored off of Sadaheep, Thailand, where there was a consulate, a U.S. consulate. We got a bunch of people on board to process these people before they went to the relocation camp in Thailand. And when they were properly processed, they got on this ferry boat here. This is like what we used for the Liberty boats when we were on Liberty and Pattaya Beach, and they took them back to Thailand to a relocation camp. And this was probably the last time we saw any of these people on their way to the relocation camp. Okay, so years passed, and actually on our way back to we took on a squad of SEALs, 5 of them, from Underwater Demolition Team 11 there in Pattaya Beach. The last day we were there as we were offloading these people, Boat 262, to the camp. And the squad had a corpsman. His name's Doug McGill. He's a Facebook friend. And he was a typical SEAL like you expect to see. SEAL do. But anyway, we encountered another boat in heavy seas on the way back to the Philippines, and had somewhat of an emergency. I could talk about that all afternoon and still not tell you everything, so we're going to skip that right now. Also, too, I want to save that one because that's part of a story that is still evolving, and I will try when something does in fact happen with it. I mean, I wasn't an actual eyewitness. I was kind of a secondary witness to an authentic act of heroism. And at the appropriate time, I hope to be able to tell you all how that story kind of pans out. But anyway, years pass, and you ever think about, as a Rotarian, if you like working all morning out at MSOI packing boxes, if you're really helping somebody, you ever been able to do somebody a a badly needed favor because you happened to be in the right place at the right time. Well, I find out years later that those other ships that we were in the patio with had gone on to Singapore area or whatever, where it was they were going. But according to Dana, my former skipper, we were the only surface asset available within about 1,000 miles at the time. This was later in the week, of course, and the rest of the 7th Fleet was in the middle of an exercise up by Japan. And it just happenstance that we happened to find that boat. But, you know, a bunch of us, as it turns out, you know, kind of would do that sometimes, think about long and deep about how these people did, if they did okay, if they were able to make it to America. And, you know, with the advent of the internet and with the advent of social media, you know, I had a membership to Delphi Forums. I ran an OU message board there for a few years. And so I went ahead for my ship's association that was just getting established in 2007. I went ahead and set up the USS Robinson Association message board. And like I said, it's a Delphi Forums board. And a member of that boat that we rescued found us about a year later. Okay? And after, it was kind of like trickle, and they all start coming out of the woodwork. And I just got to tell you, you know, these people have just done stellar. I'll show you. You know, years pass, we meet again in Dana French's hometown of Frederick, Maryland. Okay? And the survivors of boat 262 came looking for the officers and crew of Robinson and found us. And I managed to get, through Phil Butler, I managed to get reconnected with Dana French, okay? And I connected him with this guy that came looking for us, a fellow by the name of Win Fon, okay? And they had about 20 odd people organized this banquet of former boat people, and it was a gratitude of honor toward our captain, Dana French. And this was at the Hampton Inn in Frederick. This was 10 years ago this December. Now, for a little follow-up. Wynn called me, or refers to me as the first contact. After all this time, 30-odd years, everybody, they've looked high and low, some of these people, for USS Robinson. And it wasn't until I set that message board up that they found us. Okay. Win Fon, his dad, he's from the old city of Saigon. His dad was a Saigon police officer, and when Saigon fell in '75, his dad was off to re-education. Okay. He had tried to escape Vietnam 6 times. And been caught every single time, and looked like he was going to be caught a 7th time when those were not Thai fishermen, we find out all these years later. They were pirates.
Oh.
Yes. They were pirates, and they were raping those girls and taking anything they had. You know.
That's
so,
when they had stuff on them.
Yes. Okay. So it makes sense now. I didn't think that before I had. Sorry, Jim. Anyway, but no, Fon has just done stellar. He always dreamed of being, living in Boston. He lives, and he made it, was able to immigrate to Memphis, Tennessee, through they went through a couple of camps after they were in Thailand. He ended up being able to get processed through his camp in Malaysia, and come to Memphis, Tennessee. He was there for 2 weeks, got enough money to get a one-way ticket to Boston. He's been living there ever since. That's it was in June 1982. Okay, so about a year and a half after all this. He worked 14 years with the hate crimes unit of Boston PD, and the Vietnamese community hate crimes unit of Boston PD. He has a degree from Boston University. He works in IT and the Fidelity, jets all over the world now. He and his wife, another former boat person, have 2 of the most gorgeous, knockdown gorgeous daughters you ever saw. One was going to Columbia University and one to the University of Maryland at the time of this reunion. But the gratitude was just so humbling, because I never thought of us as, we were just there. What else would you do? What else would we do? Here's another one that really stuck out. I could stand up here all afternoon and tell you about all these people that I met, still not cover everything. I'm just picking 3 of them. Okay, Johnny True was about a year older than me when we picked him up. And he laid it on the line to me, when you're standing on the O1 level, wrapped in a sheet, your birthday suit, it brings it all home. And that's really how he started. Johnny served 23 years in the U.S. Army. I think he retired as an E7. He donated his retirement flag to USS Robinson Association. And he is now a state trooper in the South Carolina Highway Patrol. So he has just done stellar. And of course his daughter. I didn't really get to talk with her much, but Johnny, an incredible guy. Now, here's the one that really says it all for me. And truth is stranger than fiction will ever be. The interpreter. Bing No was a high school English teacher in central Vietnam before escaping on boat 262. And he was one of the people, me and Dana French did a sat for StoryCorps back in March. He lives in Richardson, Texas now. But that's only not even a fraction of the story. Okay, Bing had a brother in California that he was able to get processed and immigrated relatively soon after. He got over in like April of 1981 to California with his brother. Then he was going to go live with a family member, an extended family in Berlin, Missouri. And then the program he wanted to get into was at OU. He had a cousin that lived in Oklahoma City. And he ends up living in the near Northwest 23rd class in Vietnamese neighborhood in Oklahoma City. I lived out by Northwest 39th and May. We were just a few blocks from each other in 1985. And we graduated from OU the same year. Bing has just done stellar. He's worked with General Dynamics. He still works for him. I think he's kind of like in a slow down mode. He's 67 now. But he just, during that StoryCorps interview, tells just what it was like to try to plan your diet around 10 or 12 pounds of rice a week or a month or whatever it was, and have to owe. The way that the communists made them pay was through labor. They had to give, gratis labor, on the weekends when they had such little time off anyway. But yes. Dana is still blowing and going at 85, and his wife Marge. And there's a wind farm on the left. And this woman was one of the 11-year-old girls that with the stuff all over on when it barked. That's Robin Wen Belsaus. She ended up getting a degree in microbiology and is with NIH, or was with a research scientist at NIH. She has married and has 2 very fine sons. I think since then she's relocated to Southern California, San Diego, North County area. But she is another one was adopted by a family in Minnesota, and hence the Anglicized name Robin. Anyway, moving on here. Now, the families. Of the ones that, there were several more, I'm sure, but of the 20-odd that were represented at this banquet, I mean, look at that. That's Dana admiring. This is from the decision he made to stop and pick those people up. These families have just grown and flourished, and this is as it turned out, I think I mentioned in my journal when I'm sitting in that motor whaleboat that the decision was going all the way up to Commander 7th Fleet, when actually he was the one that said, bring them on board. I didn't realize that till years later. So, points of clarification made on that one. Let's see here. There's the captain and the crew and all the banquet organizers, and about 8 or 9 of my former shipmates were able to attend this. I drove all the way to Maryland for this. Anyway, the helm and the screw was all that's left of their boat, and we had one of our UDT people scuttle their boat after we got them all off it. Put a 5-inch powder charge in the middle and ringed it with grenades, and then set it off remotely. But anyway, that's all that's left, though. Now, are you ready to see a picture of yours truly when I was a 21-year-old pencil neck?
What's it worth? Yeah, we're through eating. Oh my gosh.
Oh, there you are.
That's before I was in second class. That's a couple of months before I got it. Well, I guess this is probably in June or July of 1980. I just got back from leave from being at home here, and you notice the Long Live Rock Brigade KMOD sticker on the bulkhead there, and everybody, exactly. But anyway, I really felt compelled to share this story because we are having more and more refugees immigrate and enter into our community, places like Afghanistan, Syria, Central and South America, Guatemala, Venezuela, and it's, these people have been through a lot to get here. And, I don't want to get political here, but I get a little irate at the fact that certain politicians are using them as political pawns at the border now. But I think that when, as I have shown you, if we help these people, if we demonstrate, just give them a chance to do good, they will. And that's been my experience, and I want to share that. And I want to, I think that's the subtext for all Rotarians. You may not think you're doing much by packing a box and going to Malawi. You may not think that donating a large sum of money for the eradication of polio or to get double strength Narcan on the street is going to help anybody. Believe me, it does. It may not be apparent immediately. It may be years, like it was in my 38 years before we figured, or 30, or however long it was, before we found out that we actually did good, because these people have just done stellar. Does anybody have any questions about this?
Were any of the women pregnant?
On the second boat we picked up, boat 22. Okay, there was one woman that was early 3rd trimester. I initially wrote in my journal, the refugee count this time was 21, 22. Okay, yeah, and that involved having it's something bad. If you guys are, I don't want to bore you with lunchtime, but if you really want to know, you can read that excerpt from my journal. And my friend Doug McGill is a bona fide hero. I mean, he probably didn't think of himself like that because he didn't do anything abnormal that a SEAL normally isn't trained to do. In his case, it involved jumping in the ocean to try to save 2 people, or 3 people actually, and one survived. So anyway, long story, and as that story evolves, I'll hopefully add to this, because this is a story that is still evolving. I want to share that. Yes, Jim?
There was an expression that was shared at the Rotary Convention in Germany when I was pleased and able to attend, and it was do-goodery. One of the Rotary groups used that for a lot of their activities, do-goodery.
Which one? Oh, like, it's kind of it's good, it's...
Service buffs out?
I don't know.
But
When you were president, Jim, and I first came to this club, I don't know, man, it's just, Rotary to me feels like a natural fit.
same for me.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say with the do-goodery is thank you for the do-goodery that you did
Yeah.
with your
You done
siblings
good.
and whatever. That's great.
But
Yeah.
notice that expression, I'm daydreaming about laying around waiting for welfare.
No, stop.
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay. Sergeant at Arms, tell you what, bring it up here. I'll pull a ticket out. If I win, it gets paid forward. Do-goodery, I like that, Jim. Okay, check your tickets. 4085745.
Me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Somebody did.
yeah, I think I did. Go here. Let me pull another one. I did this last week.
That's a good goal.
Okay, how about 4085729? Okay, there we go. Half what the ticket. All right, shall we all rise for the 4-way test? The 4 things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Let's do some do-goodery, folks.
Let's do it.
Oh, is it fun? And will anybody find out? Or will anybody get caught?
Kids in my youth group, yeah.
Right.
She was from Laos. And we tell stories about sewing socks.
Good job, Stan.
So she would cry when they were on a boat, and they've all done it.
David, I tell you, go by a lot.
Thank you, Sam.